Hey,
Hey, hey,
how are
What's
we
up,
doing,
folks?
people?
what's going on, fam?
Welcome, y'all. Welcome back, family. It's good to be back with
We
y'all.
here.
Good people, welcome to the
We
well. And my
here.
name is Pastor, and I serve as executive pastor.
Technical difficulties.
The enemy is busy.
We in here. Everybody here? We here?
He back.
Yeah,
He back. He
We
back.
here.
We can see a man
You back.
back.
Good.
So many.
We can hear you. Can
Right.
you hear
I
us?
guess he can't hear us.
Did we make it? Are we here?
We're
We here.
here.
We
Are
good.
you
The
here?
devil is busy, but welcome to the well encounter. Oh my goodness. Listen, everybody, I'm Pastor Harris, and I'm so excited to be with y'all tonight. We are missing our lead pastor, Pastor Ray. Them shoes could never be filled, and blessings, safe travels to you, brother, wherever you are tonight. We pray that you are watching and that you are somewhere commenting and excited about what's going to happen tonight. I serve here as executive pastor slash director of the well, and today is Thursday, May the 12th, and we are excited to have everybody with us, especially, y'all know who, our
Hey,
Williams. Come
hey.
on, our Williams.
Hey.
So go ahead,
Shout
take
out
a
to the
minute,
gang.
like this. If you're on Facebook, comment, let us know you're here. Let us know where you're from. We want to interact with you. You have any questions or anything that you want to put out there, we want to talk to you, right? Because this is our network. And this month's theme is Wade in the Sugar Honey Iced Tea. And y'all
Oh
know
Lord.
what the sugar, the honey, the ice, and the okay, y'all got it, right? But this month is going to be a journey through mental health. But tonight's title is talking about recognizing your sugar honey iced tea. So we have a really great encounter for you tonight. And as always, we hope that you encounter the well, that you become the well, that you emerge and share the well. And that's always synonymous with the quote that you encounter Jesus, you become like Jesus, and then you emerge and share Jesus, right? Love, life, etc. So now you got that, right? We also believe that everything we do should lead us through an intentional path. So we call our path to the 5 P's. Y'all know what those are? Passion. Come on, what is it? Purpose, promise, peace, power. So that being said, I want to introduce our panelists for the evening. I want to say thank you all first and foremost for coming out. We have to my
Yay,
top left,
yay.
Mr. Matt Collinson, to my top right, Pastor Tay Fleming, and my bottom left, Mr. Brennen B, and then our guest panelist who is not a part of our squad but has always been around supporting us, Miss Jordan Dent. Say what's up to the people, y'all.
hey,
What up,
y'all. Hey,
though?
No, that's good. We
Y'all
kind
know
of
what
jumping
time
right
I'm
in. I know
on.
I'm moving a little fast here, but we got a long month, and we're gonna kind of tap into some things, man. And our hope is that we're able to be transparent with you all, but that in turn you all don't just see the transparency, but that you can participate in sharing that transparency as well. We're not looking to just
Mhm.
be healed from some things. We're looking to be made whole. Whole is our goal, and that means every area of our life has to be impacted. And that means coming with some level of vulnerability, some level of nakedness, right? Being able
Mm.
to, what the Bible say, bear ye one another's burdens. That'll mean you have to confess your whole life to everybody or to even somebody. But that is to say, talk to somebody about some of the stuff you got going on. Jesus and a therapist too. We were put in a community for a reason, right? So I mean, y'all tell me, why don't people seem to focus on mental health that much?
Yeah, I think the stigma around it, right, is for one, it's hard to recognize. Sometimes people say, I'm just having a bad day. But if you keep having a bad day and a bad day turns to a bad week, which turns to a bad month, which turns to a bad year, right? So I think is recognizing that you have a problem, and then also there's a vulnerability in saying I need help, I need to talk to somebody, I need to do something. A lot of times we self-medicate ourselves mentally without even thinking about it. We're so busy we can't think about the fact that we're sad. You know what I mean? We work so much we don't even think about that we can barely make ends meet. We're hustling, hustling, hustling. But when you have time to stop and realize, man, I have some things in me I need to fix. And you've wasted all this time that now it's just festering and building, and before you know it, sadly, in some cases, it's too late for the help. or you still don't recognize it because you're so far in that rut. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, Jordan. What you frozen down there?
I think she frozen. She got mugshot going on.
Listen, Brendan, what
Right.
you about to say?
Nah, man, I can go next. I think one of the struggles that we all have with our with talking about this subject is oftentimes we don't recognize everything, and we
Right.
can't, and some of that is just from it's what we've lived, and it's what we've seen, and I think historically, um, the precedent that we've set as a society, as far as some of mental and emotional struggles and things like that, it is based more in just figuring things out, and it's like if you're having a struggle, it's like, oh, you'll get over it or something like that, or it's just something everybody goes through, and sometimes it's not. And I mean, the way you process it doesn't always kind of fall into what everybody else does and things like that. And so I think that we've a lot of times we've kind of we just haven't given this subject, and this kind of process, this individual process, enough conversation and enough gravity, I guess, in just in life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
True.
think to feed off Brennan's point, like we we in a lot of places there aren't systems to say that you're struggling. Like you're generally
Hmm.
working with someone that's doing okay, or you're in relationship with someone that's doing okay. So it's hard to say, like, you know what, I just can't do this right now. And it can be something really silly, like, you know what, I just can't come out for coffee tonight. And the reason is like I don't want to talk to anyone. Like I've spent my entire week
Yeah.
talking to people, and it, we don't have the language or the framework or the sort of universal understanding to say I just can't do it. Like if someone says I've got a broken leg, of course you can't come out tonight. You got a
You
broken leg.
walk there.
Mhm.
But it bothers me in my brain or in my soul to come out tonight is somehow not acceptable to us. Like I can't
Yeah.
do it emotionally. It's somehow on a different level to I can't do it physically.
Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah. And just to piggyback on what you're saying, I think with mental health and having, good days or bad days, it comes from all different angles. It's like you said, like you can break your leg or stomp your toe or hurt your arm. You know where that pain is, right? Where
Mm.
you could get fired from your job. You could break up with somebody. You could have had an argument with a best
Mhm.
friend. Your mama could have said something that you didn't like. You know what I mean? There's so many angles in which that affects your mental. So it's
Yep.
like I know if someone breaks up, if someone breaks up with me, I know how that hurts. But how does it hurt for you to lose a best friend? It's the same thing. Still a
Hmm.
relationship. But
Yep.
just speaking in a man's point of view, that prideful thing, you kind of shove that to be something different when the whole time it's affecting you the same way. So it's just having that knowledge and that self control of how you handle life mentally.
Mhm.
Yeah. But I see the lady of the hour is back on.
Yeah, sorry about that. We already said the enemy is busy, and so if I repeat something that has already been said, I apologize. But one of the things that I think we have difficulty with right now, um, in our day and age, is social media makes it look like you have to have it all together.
Mhm.
So we
Mm,
don't talk about not being okay. We don't talk
Mhm.
about it is okay not to be okay.
Not.
And
Mhm.
Mm.
so we are putting on this facade that I'm okay, when in actuality, your world is falling apart.
right.
When in actuality, you do need a helping hand. When in actuality, there are things that are just happening to you that you just can't handle on your own. And it's not, and of course, we are a spiritual based platform. And so I will also add, God can help you get through it, but He's also going to send additional resources to help you get through it. So, and we're
Hmm.
not going to do it on our own either. So, I think social media plays a major role in the fact that we don't talk about mental health because we have to make it look like we have it together. And then when people lose it, you're being chastised, you're being talked about, you're being joked about, you are being made into memes, you are being made into gifs, whatever, however you pronounce it. And so you are shunned for not being okay.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to say, I am not okay. Um, and even on a personal note, I had to really say to myself one time, like, I'm not okay. And I will tell you, admitting that I wasn't okay actually felt good. It actually
Mhm.
felt good.
Yeah.
And so, and that's a part of the process that helps you get to where you're actually trying to go, which is actually being okay. So that's just my 2 cents.
I think Jordan, you kind of highlighted something that a couple of the other a couple of the fellas have kind of just peeked in my head. But it's like it's easier for people to see a physical injury. It's easier for people to see a limp because you broke your ankle. It's easy for people to see, a shoulder harness because you popped your shoulder out of the socket or something like that. But
Hmm.
when you're depressed, like nobody really sees that when you're having a mental struggle or making
Yeah.
a decision. It like nobody really sees that processing. Nobody can really see that hurt. And so when
Yeah.
people look at you, they'll assume like everything's okay, he's normal, he's good. And then I know I myself, I'll participate in that a lot of times. And because just my default statement when I'm talking to people is, yeah, I'm good. I'm chilling. Or if somebody asks me how I'm doing, it's like, yeah, I'm good. How are you? And it's more of a default thing than anything else. But not like the ability, not having the ability to see the harm, sometimes prevents us from really acknowledging it and giving it the proper care that is needed.
Yeah.
I was going to say, man, and I've talked about this before for sure, that, man, the part of the brain that actually processes pain does not actually differentiate between physical and emotional
Mm.
pain. Like the
Mhm.
same way that you break a leg and you are like struggling for your life in an area
Right.
is like the same way that your brain processes a broken heart. It does not know the difference in pain.
Mhm.
It just knows something hurts.
Yes.
And I think, and oftentimes it's just like our emotions. It's more than just an alert system. It's something to say, hey, yeah, a thing is going on, but hey, something needs to happen behind that thing. Like there has to be more than just a belief. It has to be some action. Let's take it to spirituality. It's faith and work. It's not just all God doing a thing. I don't just wish things to happen and they just happen. No, I put my faith behind my work, and it all comes together somehow, some way. And it's more than just me believing in God. It's me believing God. So again, it's not just saying a thing or even thinking about a thing. It's putting some action behind it. What are you about to say, Matt?
Oh, I was just going to say that I don't think, like, even when we're physically hurt, like sometimes we don't have the language to say that we're not okay. Like there's sort of an assumption that like if you walk into a room with your arm in a sling or your foot in a crutch, like someone asks you if you're doing okay, the default response has to be like, yeah, of course I'm okay. Like you can see the problem, but also
Yeah.
aside from that, like we don't have the language to say I'm not okay, and actually the reason I'm not okay is the thing that you can fricking see. Like it's the
Right.
bone poking out of my knee that's the problem. And so how on earth are we going to talk about mental health that you can't see if we don't have a language for talking about the pain that we can see?
Mm.
Mm.
Hmm.
What
That's
does
That'd
that
be
look
good.
so
like
deep.
to have the language? You know what I mean? Like, what does that look like
Yeah.
to say we have the
I think,
language to
I mean,
say,
yeah, I think that that's something. I mean, we can all grow into, and
hmm
and I mean, it's something that as we progress, one, it helps us to find those what uh, uh my therapist called turning points. And for
hmm
me, she called them turning points for me because a lot of times when I'm not well in a mental or emotional or even sometimes spiritual space, like my switch is to instantly listen, go, kind of that native New Yorker, and it's like straightforward, no sugarcoating. Like no time for no time for funnies. We don't do the funnies. Like it's real serious. And
The
it's
funnies,
like,
yeah.
and a lot of people, right, and that and it can turn some people off because then it's quick, short, and it's matter of fact. It's like in when I get in that zone, sometimes for me, it's like I have to use that right now as like a check, like, hey, B, you getting a little short with folks. And it's not necessarily in like the perception for other people is that, sometimes I don't care or that I'm upset at them or that, it's something they did wrong. And that's not necessarily the case. It's just like right now, I can't process what's going on in my head.
Yeah.
And you coming at me, like, to me, it feels annoying. And even though I know that your purpose, your goal isn't to be annoying to me, um, I can't do this. And so recognizing some of those points where we get there and we can feel in ourselves that, all right, like, listen, I'm going to a space that isn't necessarily healthy to have dialogue is a part of that process. And being able sometimes to just say, like, fam, I can't talk to you right now. Or like, love, I can't talk to you right now. Homie, I can't talk
Yeah.
to you. Supervisor, we can't do this conversation right now because if we have this conversation, I'm probably gonna lose my job. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
and I think building some of that into like life and society will help us, because then, like, words don't get said when you're angry. You have time to process it and really understand how you feel before you respond. Because sometimes responding before you really know how you feel, you tell a lie because it's not exactly how you feel, but in the moment, this is the only way you have to express it.
Yeah.
It's your
Yeah.
first response.
Yeah.
It's just
Right.
that.
But you also said something, B, that was that triggered another thought, how teaching society or, teaching society how to deal with that. I think we no longer know how to have conversation. We no longer know how to communicate. This may
Mhm.
not be a popular opinion, but I think some people have become overly sensitive to
Mm.
things that are not they shouldn't be something that they are sensitive to. I mean, a perfect example, just having a conversation with someone to tell them you did this and it made me feel like this, or I feel like this when you did this, isn't necessarily saying like you are a bad person, you're wrong, you shouldn't have did that, but it's letting them know like something you didn't sit well with me. And I'm not necessarily asking you to change your behavior because it may not have been bad intentions or anything like that, but just making you aware that something you
Aware.
did or
Yeah.
said didn't sit well with me. And, depending on what it is, yes, you owe me an apology, or no, you don't owe me an apology. But having that conversation like that to be able to, clear the air, make people feel comfortable. I think text messaging has terrorized us. Social media has terrorized us. I can't tell you how irritated I get looking at comments like y'all don't know each other. Why are you arguing with this stranger? Like
Mhm.
that's mind-boggling to me. But that's the culture, that's the society that we are living in right now. So to go to be in your workplace and be able to have that conversation like, look, not right now. Your supervisor might get offended, but in actuality, you're protecting them. You're protecting them and you're protecting yourself and your job. But right now, I feel like the society we live in, they would be offended and would try to do something to make you lose your job because it's personal now instead of it being business.
Mm.
Mhm. Yeah.
Fact. Miss Kim Walker says, kind of add on to that. Sometimes a lot of family and friends don't respect or try to understand what you're when you're going through things.
Mhm.
Even when you say so, you can say like you guys saying, you can voice the fact that you're dealing with you having a day or you have frustration. Some people just don't want to hear it. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just depending on what context you're in, in the African American context, we don't ain't no mental illness. Either take a nap or do whatever or keep it
Drink
pushing.
some
You know
ginger
what I mean?
ale.
Right.
Okay.
Cough
Don't forget
drops,
the
we'll
Robitussin.
Get you
trade
some
cough drops.
tussin.
Um,
Get you
That
some
or
tussin.
tussin. You'll
and
be
then
all
when
right.
something happens, all of a sudden you hold that in, and then when it explodes, oh man, he just and no offense, Matt, he just did some white boy stuff. You know what I mean? Or
Mhm.
they
Yeah.
shot up a school, was he white or black? See, but the whole time mental illness, and we're so stuck in stigmas of this is that way, or he should do this, or she should do that. The concept of a mad black woman. You don't know what that mad black woman had to go through to be that mad black woman. That's what I mean. That's all meant. I ain't gonna say it's mental illness, but that black woman is going through things, and because she chose
Mhm.
to demonstrate in a way you don't like, because she's said it countless times and you didn't listen. Now she's unruly. Now she's mad. So it's that whole snowball effect of it's like you said, just not knowing how, not finding our voice and not knowing how to articulate how we feel, and then people not being able to understand or hear what that person is saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So real quick, with that being said, let me ask y'all this because I feel like I don't, I'll follow up. I'm gonna just ask it. I want each of y'all to just answer one at a time and just let's talk. Uh, are you okay? And I don't care who answers. 3 words. Are you okay?
This the problem right here. Nobody want to answer that. No,
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 no.
no.
Yeah.
Listen,
I was gonna
I'm,
jump in
I'm,
there. I had to think about it for a second. I had to process that
Yes.
question.
I had to process that, and I'm gonna tell you
You
why I
said
had to
3 words.
process it because, like B said,
You did right.
normally the answer will probably be, "Yeah, I'm good," but
Mm-hmm.
depending on the company that you are around, like depending on
Mm-hmm.
like if you're around, your family or close friends, you will probably be authentic in your response and be like, "No, I'm not." But if you're around like an associate or a group of people that you're not really comfortable with, you'll probably be like, "Yeah, I'm good." But because I know I'm around family, I will tell you I'm in between yes and no, and that's just me being completely honest. There are a lot of things that are happening in my life, and I will sum it up in one word: transition, and it's happening in multiple areas of my life, and I'm trying to adjust as I transition and not and allow and extend grace to myself because I have a certain expectation of how things are supposed to be, and the reality is they are not. It doesn't mean that I can't get to that expectation. It's just that right now I am not at that point, and so I have
Mm.
to I'm processing this transition and getting to the point of like, okay, Jordan, you do have the bar set here, but you're right here. It doesn't mean it's not attainable, but you're right here. And so, baby steps, baby steps. Deal with this in this capacity, deal with this in this capacity, get a little help to deal with this over in this capacity. So, I'm in between yes and no.
Yeah, I was kind of going to echo that and just say, um, like I'm managing. That's probably the best word I can say right now is I'm managing, and just managing the highs and the lows. And I can't say I'm fully okay because it's a lot of stuff I have anxiety about, but I also in that can't ignore some of the achievements and accomplishments and things like that. But to say that it's all good or all bad would be inaccurate for me right now. And recognizing that is for me progress.
All right,
Man.
I'm gonna screw it up and say no. I'm not like, and to Brennan, what you just said, like recognizing that you're not, like that's a huge part of why I'm saying no. It's like I've lived
Mhm.
30 odd years of pretending I'm okay, and the reality is that no, I'm really tired. I have
Mhm.
a job that I absolutely love that is also stressing me the hell out. I have I have a lot of things that are wonderful in my life. To your point, Brennan, but like I'm just not okay. Like I'm real tired. I'm ready for a break, and I don't want to pretend that I'm okay when I'm not. And it's real hard not to pretend. Like, I supervise a team of people. So it's real hard when they say, "How are you doing?" to not be like, "You know what? I hate the world and everything in it, and that includes you." But also, like, I'm not okay, and that's not their responsibility to deal with, but it's also how am I dealing with recognizing that? And so, one of I will be the first to admit. I think Brendan, you touched on this, but like talking to a therapist is huge. Like part of now I've said I'm not okay. Like the reason I know I'm okay saying I'm not okay is because I have a therapist. I have a good group of people. I have a partner who, whenever I say that to, they're like, okay, let's talk about it. Let's make space to deal with that rather than this sort of shutdown of if you're not okay, I can't deal with that. Whether that's because I don't feel like I have the tools, or because I also am not okay and do not want to acknowledge that that might be a reality for the folks that I'm interacting with.
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. And I mean, just going around, but I don't know how you can be okay. There's always something. And I like how she said transition, right? Like you have goals and you do your best to reach them. Sometimes you fall short, sometimes you achieve. But even if you set a goal and you achieve it, you still have something. What I mean, something else you're grasping for.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a society that it's hard to say that we're never satisfied, and that's true, and that's not a bad thing necessarily. It's just I feel like that's the human condition. But like, it's hard for anyone to say they're okay. Someone's got something. Someone's dealing with an addiction, whether that's, what I mean. You could be addicted to applesauce, whatever your addiction, you know what I mean? Like someone's dealing with something. Someone's dealing with some kind of envy. Somebody's dealing with a troubled relationship. Somebody's dealing with being tired at the workplace. There's always something, right? And I'll also say this because I don't know if we said it yet. I don't want to seem gloom and doom. You can have good days without what you can be okay and still not be okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's still beauty in a rainy day. You know what I mean? So that's not to say that, you know what I mean, we're just all moan and groan and depressed, but there's sunshine even when you don't see it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the other thing,
I,
Harrison, are you going to answer the question?
yeah, I'm gonna answer.
Okay,
If
yeah,
you got something to say to that, no, please go ahead.
I do. So what I was going to say is that what we also, for me, I think one of the things that I'm learning through my therapy sessions is that I have to, I have accepted that it's okay to feel however I'm feeling in that moment and
Mm-hmm.
not
Yep.
try to run through it, run past it, or get over it. No,
Mhm.
process it. Process
Mm-hmm.
it, feel how you feel, so that way you understand as you go on this journey of self-care or mental health, wellness, whatever you want to call it, you can navigate whatever issues come up. So for me, I will add that I'm learning how to process whatever I'm feeling in those moments.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Miss Kim says I always say one day at a time, and if the person digs deeper, we can talk, and if the person says okay, then I'll move on.
Mhm.
Shout out to Miss.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I appreciate all of that because but man, much to Jordan's point, I am a chronic compartmentalizer. Uh, so I have a really keen sense of, for the most part, being able to separate things into their own. I feel a way about this. Don't feel a way about that. I'm able to separate things. And the older I've gotten, I just turned 26 this past month. And the older that I've gotten, the more I'm finding myself, one, slowing down. Um, but two, I'm finding my drive to be a little bit different. And I'm saying all that to say there are times where I feel like it's not enough time in the day to feel. I don't have time to deal with this right now. That is a average. That is like a regular thought. I don't have the time to deal with this. I feel put that to the side right now. I got to focus on. and not knowing, and it was just brought to my attention not long ago by Miss Casey Jones watching tonight. Hey, uh, not knowing after putting so many things in this corner, you're like piling these things up. And it gets a bit difficult to deal with things when.
Uh-oh. You still there? All right. Is the group still there?
We're still here.
No, here we
Busy, I
go.
tell you. Busy, busy, busy. But that to say, man, without going too far down that way, just to say that, man, I'm a person that will stack feelings in the corner so much that they pile. And I'll deal with it. Now, I am a person that will deal with my stuff before I have to blow up, unless you make me blow up. And let me tell you, man, the state I'm in right now, this past season, there have been so many opportunities that I've had that I could have blown up. So many opportunities where I could have popped, I mean, at any moment and didn't know it until I found space to slow down. So am I okay right now? I can't fully say yes, but I know that I'm getting okay, and I know I feel more okay than I've been in probably over a year and a half, 2 years almost. I feel like there's a long-term work that's going on, and much to you all's point, man, transitions happening on every single front. I mean, every area of my life is experiencing that, including external areas, man. All the organizations that I'm attached to, all the other people's names I'm attached to, like things are moving in spaces, and regardless of how much Harrison is in each of these spaces, is some of Harrison in each of these spaces, and that can be hard to keep up with. Especially for the people that are closest to you. And that is something that I'm learning how to manage, managing other people in your space, being around people, but learning how not to allow them to be in your way or how to not get in their way, but still be present, So I'm learning how to be present in moments. I'm learning how to do different things, man. This has been a really trying season. And I'm also realizing that it's time to get a therapist again. It is time to talk to somebody because, again, all these transitions is so much good happening, so many good problems, but problems nonetheless. Like so much
Right.
good growth, but definitely growing pains attached to it. And this is not one of them things, man, that time's going to work out. This is not one of those situations like the Army taught me well. Situations typically do not just get better with time. On average, they get worse. The longer you let them sit, the longer you leave some trash here for a day, it may not be that bad. You leave that trash here for 2 or 3, 4, 5 days. Okay, all right. Ain't nobody coming in the house. No, that's the guy with the trash sitting there. It stinks. We don't want to go over there. And
Well,
that's
you have
how
some
a lot of us
workers.
look on a daily basis and don't know it. There's not enough Febreze in the world to cover up the stuff that you piled up in the corner and haven't dealt with. And I feel like as a lot of people are losing relationships, and I don't know who I'm speaking to, but I feel spirit moving here. That a lot of people are losing relationships because of past hurt. It just won't even talk about it. Not even saying deal with everything. No. Just admit that something is going on here. I feel like we are missing this critical piece of being naked, not physically, being naked emotionally, being vulnerable, having
Mm-hmm.
space to feel without any consequence.
Mm-hmm.
We're missing a lot of that. I feel like this pandemic and it has highlighted so much
Definitely.
when people are feeling so many types of ways and nowhere to express it, man. We see so much blowing up. So how often, let me say, how often are we asked that question? Like, how often are y'all asked, like, for real? Not, hey, how you doing? No, like, how often are you asked, are you okay? And do you feel like you can really answer that honestly?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say two things. One, to your point about the trash, eventually it's going to attract something.
Well.
Preach, Jordan. Preach.
Eventually it's going to attract something. So we gonna put that right over there. But just remember, it's going to attract something. All right. Now to your question, I can't really say that I am asked, "Are you okay?" And if anybody of my on my friends list is watching and get offended, don't be, because my mind is not all, I told you I'm going through transition. But if I'm gonna be honest, I can't say I recall, you know, being asked that question often.
Yeah. Um, I can say actually, I have support. My wife, she asks me that all the time, almost to the point of nausea.
Mhm.
Love you, sweetie, if you're watching, but gosh, and then sometimes, she acts so much that I just say, "Yup, I'm cool." So I don't feel like talking about it, and I don't know if that's if that's her or on me, but she definitely really does care. It's just sometimes, sometimes you're in to the point where you just don't want to talk about it, or I deal with, and I'll say I have mental illness. I have seasonal depression and post-traumatic stress disorder from things that happened in my life. Two kidney transplants, one failed because of COVID. Father died because of COVID. Like I still process that. But I think you process things in different ways. Like some people do need someone to say, "Are you okay?" and generally mean it and have to bare their soul. I'm on the other side of the fence. I really like to be isolated. I'll go to the gym and just be in my own world to just pick something up and put it down, and that's how I find my zen, or you know what I mean, or just listen to a sermon and just zone out by myself. I'm very extroverted, so when I go inward, that's kind of like my space to myself, and that's how I deal with things. So I can honestly say I've had people who generally ask me that, but I don't necessarily always take advantage of the acts. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think Pastor Tay, you've hit on something really important there. Is like knowing who's asking and how to answer. Like, people walk past you in the corridor on a day-to-day basis, and you're like, "You okay?" You're like, "Of course I'm okay," because I don't want to have a conversation with someone I barely met. But
Yeah.
one of the things I've found is, there are certain people in my life, and it's a small group, but there are folks that when they ask me if I'm okay, like there is an accountability to say
Mhm.
yes or no to genuinely explain what that answer is. And it's a small
Mhm.
group. Like there are probably, I could count them on one hand. Like the people that when they ask me if I'm okay, I answer honestly. But I also spend, one of them is my wife, so I spend a lot of time with her. One of them is my therapist, so I pay her to, respond. And, a couple of others are two of my closest friends, and we make a point to hang out regularly in order to answer that question for each other. And so I think and I'll take a step back and be like, as a British person, we don't ask, "Are you okay?" in Britain. That's not a thing we ask. We're just, if you're passing someone in the corridor, you're sort of like, "Hey, hi, whatever." But there's never a question asked that the person is expected to respond to. Coming to America, I was like, "Oh, you're all asking me if I'm okay," and I had to learn to not answer that question because you all don't want an answer. You all just want it's a greeting. It's a way of saying hi. But finding those people where you're able to answer that question honestly and knowing where that space is and making time for that space, but also acknowledging that most of the time someone asks that question, it's not real, is important as well, and knowing what the distinction is between the two.
Mhm.
Yeah, Matt, I think the context of who's asking and when they're asking, and even sometimes how they're asking is absolutely
Mm.
important in that. But I think you also did highlight something that I hadn't thought about before. But I think there is, I mean, and there is some accountability to answer in the right context, the proper way, and the most accurate way you can respond. Um, uh, 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 I mean, like with for me, one of the things, and one of the reasons why me and Pastor Ray are so close is because we have that relationship, and we both called each other out in the past when it's like, "Hey, yeah, I'm good," and or I say, "Yeah, I'm good," or he say he's good, and it's like, fam, like you ain't got to lie to me. Like let's have a little
Mhm.
bit better. Let's have a little bit more respect for our relationship. With this, it's a safe space. This is cool. even if you don't want to talk about it, don't tell me you're good when you're not. I can see it, you know. And it's like I can feel it. I can feel the energy from you, like you're not good. And I would much rather you be honest in that and saying that, like I'm not good right now and I can't talk about it versus you saying you're good. And so I think in that there's definitely some accountability that we all have to one when we're in those spaces and when we find those people to be as authentic as we can in those spaces, because I think that, like, to Matt's point, there is some just like sugar honey iced tea built into this uh, built into, like, I mean, American culture, and there's some phoniness built into it, because when we ask that question, we'll always really care. And I'll say me too. Some people, how you doing, man? I personally could care less. But it's a part of the greeting, and it's a part of, and it doesn't mean that I don't care about the person, but in that moment, I don't really like if you say I'm feeling bad. Sometimes, I'm and I think in general, like I've grown to understand that I am empathic, but I get in moments where it's like I don't have the energy to like care about like how you're feeling right now because I'm dealing with me. It's like to be in those moments. Like, yeah, sometimes I'm the phony person that asks, how you doing, and like if you said you were doing terrible, I'd be like, oh, okay. Well, let's get on with the work, or let's do, something else. And it's not, and I
I'll
feel
pray
bad,
for
but
you.
yeah, right. To give grace,
Okay, the Lord gonna work it out.
Right.
to
I'm
give
real
my
sorry to hear that.
right, and all the things. Like, it's funny. Me and my cousin, we have this little joke that we play, like when we're like on the phone with our moms or something like that, and they're going extra long, and it's literally just to make up an excuse to move on with the conversation or to get off the phone. And then they're like, mom asks, like, "How you doing today?" Or just be talking, like, you know what? Whew, my AC is blowing real cold. Let me get off this phone. Or like, like, oh, them birds is tweeting outside. Let me get off this phone. Like, it's something completely irrelevant, but I'm gonna get off this phone because I personally don't care in this moment, and there's so much else going on around me. Like, I can't give you the energy that question requires.
Right.
And I think that so, like, yeah, we have to find those, and I think I probably I get asked it enough for me. Because I think too much asking me is like I don't want to have to explain it to 20 different people. So I definitely have a real close circle, and people that I'll say I'll explain what's going on, and even like I'll give different degrees of the story of what's going on. And I mean, and that's kind of my personal choice and personal decision to share that information with who I share it with, but. And I mean, even in that's a part of my own self care, because I don't necessarily want 20 people or 50 people reaching out to me and saying like, "Hey, I know you said you're doing bad the other day, but how you doing now?" And it's like, I can't always respond to everybody, but so even in my response earlier, like I'm managing. Um, I could go down the list of all the terrible things and all the great things in my life. We got. I mean, we all know them. We got the whole war, World War III potentially starting over across the across the globe. We got Roe v. Wade, and all this madness. We still got folks saying 2020 election was stolen, and still supporting the foolish Negro that caused an insurrection. But like there's a lot of things, and that's just external stuff. That's not even
And
internal
we
stuff that
still
I'm
in the
going
pandemic.
through. Right, we still in the whole pandemic.
That way.
Literally had a whole COVID scare for my whole team today at work. Like we all getting rapid tests this morning and things like that, and it's like all of these things are happening externally, not to mention
Yep.
me and my own personal journey of trying to find those things that are wrong with me internally and fix those. Like, yeah, I can't explain all of that to everybody. And I mean, in some respects, I expect some people to understand some of the stuff that's going on in the world, and like, no, I'm not okay with Roe v. Wade being overturned. No, I'm not okay with Putin and like invading Ukraine. Like, so to some, like, no, off the rip, you should know there are some parts of me that aren't okay. Um, but so yeah, to that, it's like I think for myself, I absolutely get asked enough, and I find and kind of pick and choose with my inner circle who I am completely authentic with.
Hmm.
Yeah. I am accountable to different like groupings of people. And you talked about having like a accountability partners. I was like, man, I got two accountability partners over here, got two accountability partners over there. I got a group of guys here. It's like family.
Hmm.
If sometimes for me, let me say, man, I'm asked so much that I don't know who I told what. I'll be talking and I'll know because I'll be talking to my mom. She was like, "You talked to Daddy Run, stepdad." She said, "You talked to Daddy Run, right?" I said, "Of course I did." I told. He said he don't know nothing about that. I oh, I told you, and I find myself sometimes retreating from expressing because sometimes I just can't remember who I told what, and I'm not about to say this 50 different times over. I want to say this once, maybe twice, not more than three times. Because I don't want to have to relive whatever I'm talking about out loud
Mhm.
once
Mm.
or twice and not more than three times. Like, because some things are
And
just
I think
hard
I
to
think
say.
I think especially if you don't have a solution, that's where the
Right.
struggle comes in for me. If I don't have a solution, I really don't want to talk about it. If I have a solution, I might be more open and willing to talk about it. But like if it's just I'm in a situation that I don't see a way out of, like no, I'm not talking to a bunch of people about it because my energy is focused on getting out of this first. Not even
Right.
to
Mm.
communicate about where
Trying to
I'm
get
at.
out the
It's like no, I
clouds.
need to get out of this so I can be okay to have this conversation.
Right.
I
And
think
I
adding
think you,
confusion to anything just sucks.
yeah, so that's what I was getting ready to say. We're talking about we have pockets of people that we actually talk to, but we also have maybe at least two people that we actually feel we can be naked with, vulnerable with, that we can actually share those things with. Because again, you have to be mindful of who you are sharing stuff with because some people might add fuel to the fire. And I don't
Mm.
need you to add fuel to the fire because I'm adding my own fuel to the fire. And so what I'm seeking is guidance, direction, relief, peace, encouragement, something. And but you are giving me chaos, confusion, discouragement or whatever. And so we, it all ties into our energy, and what we're taking in, because
Yeah.
at that in that moment we're already struggling. I'm like you, B. I'm like, I gotta process this. I need a moment, you know what I mean? And I can't just deal with stuff right away. I need to process it and map out my own solutions before I actually, start to deal with it. I don't need anybody else adding that extra. Uh-uh. I don't need them adding extra because I got my own. And if you add your extra, then I'm instantly turned off. I'm zoned out. I don't want to talk to you about it anymore, actually. And so I think it's safe to say that we're all, you know, uh very careful about who we get naked with. I like to say that
Mhm.
terminology because I don't mean it in the way that society really likes to say it is. So yeah. I can tell you this though. My mom is one of my people. So the dynamic, the relationship that you all see. So shout out to my mama. She's in the chat talking about your mama
Oh,
watching.
yeah. She being
But
great, okay?
mhm, she's one of my people. And I will tell you, at 15, I didn't think it was going to be the way it is now. All I'm gonna say is 295, and she'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But I'm grateful for the relationship that we have right now. And one of the things on this journey of mental wellness, and so I don't know if you all want to put a pin on the comment that she made reference to mental illness versus mental wellness. But on my journey of mental wellness, getting to know my mom as a person, as opposed to my mom as the parent. And so that's also helping her get to know me as Jordan, the person, outside of Jordan, the daughter. And so sometimes I have to say to her, I'm talking to Sheila, the person. I'm not talking to my mama. Because I
Mhm.
want her to turn on Sheila, the person brain, and not mama, the brain. Because you're
Mm-hmm.
going to get different answers. And
Mhm.
so as we, that's something else you got to know. Who are you dealing with?
Mm.
Mm.
Because again, whoever you are dealing with determines what type of energy or information you are going to get from that person. If you know that person is a negative Nancy or a nasty Ned, you don't want to talk to them. But if you know you're going to get a positive person or positive upbringing, then you'll want to talk to them. So I think, I can relate to everything that is being said here.
Mama Dent
I'm actually getting
saying
ready to
who
read.
did it?
I'm about to read
Hold on,
her comment though,
hold
because
on.
this joint
Mama
is
Dent
like
saying
good.
who did it? They gonna catch these hands is outrageous.
Hey,
that,
yo, she's
that
hilarious. Yo,
I keep trying to
I
tell
love
y'all about
it.
that.
I need that
I
energy right now, and I think but
she
I think
said
that's
something.
that's real, and I mean I think recognizing that, because I know even for myself, like y'all know how I talk on here and it be real. Like sometimes you get that energy or you get that message and it's like squad up. Like I'm gonna go get the black forces and we're gonna put a hoodie on and we're gonna do
It
what we
was
got to
the
do.
Black Forces.
Like listen, anybody in black forces ain't got no good on their mind.
They
I
have
mean,
nothing positive about to happen. Nothing at all.
What Lil Kim say?
but
Dressed
but
in all
but
black like the omen?
you,
Hey.
but there's also, I think, and I think that speaks to the point that was said earlier. Like some people can, in I mean, even in a certain brain, and it might be one of your people, if they're not in the right frame of mind or they're not thinking in the right context, like they could add fuel to the fire rather than helping you to see
Mhm.
clarity and to process in a healthier manner, and they can take you to that place that you probably shouldn't go, but it feels good right now because you're in the moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So let me ask y'all: have y'all ever dealt with any mental illness, and not necessarily just a journey to mental wellness, like actual mental illness? I know Pastor Tate talked about it a little bit, and definitely want you to express as much as you feel, brother. But does anybody feel free? Listen, please.
Yeah, and I'll go first. I think for me, um, the actually, I mean, like these last 2 years of pandemic really helped me to realize how much mental illness I was dealing with. Because it exposed some things, and where at first I was like, I thought, oh, the pandemic is putting this on me. Like when I did my own real soul searching, it was like, no, this was you before the pandemic too. It's just on 1,000 right now, and it's like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay, maybe I need to process some things and really figure out what's going on, where these came from, and see what really living healthy feels like.
Mm.
Because I think for a long time, to an extent, I still don't exactly know what that feels like living. I mean, and processing in a healthy way what, like, PTSD from childhood traumas and things like that really is, from generational issues and I mean, listen, being from New York and having our attitude and what that meant for me growing up, like, listen, I was a fighter. Like, it wasn't you, and I didn't have a choice in the matter. A lot of times, it was like, no, you either fight or you become food. And I wasn't gonna be food. So, but like even
Mm-hmm.
processing that mindset and to be now to where like I get in moments where it's like, I feel attacked or I feel like someone is coming at me in an aggressive manner or with an aggressive energy, and it's like not to respond back with aggression. Um, is part of what I've had to learn to do, and even to sometimes, all right, be like, your response would be here. You don't have another response. The best thing for you to do right now is not respond.
Mhm.
Because
Yep.
because if you respond, you feeding into your own mental illness and you're feeding into your own like non-mental wellness. So like to take the time to say, all right, this is happening, and I mean, and it's not always the healthiest place, but sometimes it's like to allow this to happen or to remove myself from it because I don't have an appropriate response for the setting.
Mm.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah. So like I've explained my thing. So I'm diagnosed with seasonal depression, and post traumatic stress disorder. And then I mean honestly, I've when I got divorced, I'm remarried, but my first when that happened, I mean, I was basically homeless, sleeping on my homeboy's literally floor with my
Mhm.
clothes bunched up as a pillow and no blanket. And I can remember I used to take Ambiens for sleep, and I had 3 Ambiens left. I remember just making a deal with God, like I'm gonna take these 3 right now. If I make it, I gotta come up with a plan. If I don't, I'm yours. And I made it. And I'm gonna tell you, overdosing on sleeping pills is not the look. Try something else. Because that
No,
is a crazy,
wait,
scary
wait, wait,
thing.
wait. Let's frame that different.
Yeah, we're not gonna
It's
promote
not a
mental
fun
health.
situation.
We are
That
gonna
way.
say
I
that.
know you're doing it that way. Let us clarify. Let us clarify. Me, he tried Jesus.
Right.
There
Seek
you go.
help.
There you go.
Not
You know what
sleeping
I mean?
pills,
He didn't mean
okay?
try something else
Because they
instead,
got
like
hands
a
apparently.
tonic
That's
or
not
Right.
it.
he meant try Jesus or seek some help. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh
Don't
man,
don't
you know what's
alienate the
crazy? I
way.
responded so slow because I heard what you meant, and I was like, "Oh wait, what did you say?"
Right.
Y'all know what
Right.
I meant.
Yep. Yep.
I want to make
But
sure the
like
people
we can laugh
understand
at
what
it
you meant, though.
now. But had I not have
yeah.
made
That's
it,
good.
it wouldn't have been a laughing matter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I mean? I think when it comes to like clinical depression, like that's real, and it's something you cannot. It's hard to express. It's like you're just in a blanket, once
Mm.
and you try to make yourself feel better. And everybody know me as Pastor Tay, the guy who laughs and makes jokes, and you know what I mean. And I'm still that guy, but on the inside, I'm crying and I'm dying, and I'm looking at my
Mhm.
life, and I'm just like, man, how did I get here? How did I go from having a house in District Heights and being good, and you know what I mean, family proud of me, to being basically homeless, about to get my car repoed and everything else, and literally had no blanket. I had to just bundle up in my jacket. And when you get to that point, you know what I mean? And I'll say this, that could have been avoided if I would have just asked for help. If I would have not tried to be a big man and say, I can deal with this, it's nothing. If I would have just said, I need help. I need this. I need to talk to somebody. Who knows what could have happened? But I didn't. So it had to get to that point. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's rough. And then, my father died from COVID, and then me having COVID and losing my transplant. So now I'm homeless, basically jobless, and my kidneys failed. So now I'm back on dialysis. It's just like, you know, life, no matter how you
Life is
feel,
living.
life happens. Good days, bad days, okay, not okay. Life happens. Tomorrow is going to come, whether you're in it or not, whether you want it to or not. Tomorrow is going to things just roll, and how we deal with that movement of life will make or break the strongest person.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
Has anybody else
Life
personally
is
dealt
life
with
or
any
life is
mental
life
health?
in.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Harrison.
I like it.
No, I was literally that was on the tip of my tongue. That life be lifing, but I was asking had anybody else personally dealt with any mental health issues?
So I'm going to say that I have not been diagnosed by a licensed professional. But I will tell you, I struggle with anxiety. Yeah, I struggle with anxiety. It's bad, real bad. Jackson. Yeah, it's bad. I overthink. I try to plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. Um, yeah, it's bad. Like I automatically not automatically, but sometimes depending on some of the situations, I can go into like panic mode. Um, I remember this one time, this one story. My mom tells this story all the time, but she tells it differently, and I may have shared it before. But I was in. Ma, drop in the comments if it was 10th grade because I don't remember what grade it was. I know it was in high school, and it was parent teacher conference, and I was so worried and anxious and about what the teacher was going to say about me that I legit had a panic attack. She said 10th grade. I
Mm.
legit had a panic attack. So I don't know if anybody's familiar with Suitland High School. Harrison, I know you're not because you're not from this area, and B, you may not either. But Suitland High School. So we had an auditorium, the school, and the annex. We were at the auditorium, and I literally was walking the pathway from the auditorium to the school building, and I was having a full-fledged panic attack. Like I was, breathing hard and just like I was hyperventilating, all kinds of stuff. And my mom got me together, like, it's okay, calm down, all that good stuff. And we get into the classroom, and the teacher is, talking about me, saying fairly decent stuff. They didn't tell me like your child is wilding out, she need help, you need to do something. But it was more so like Jordan is, she does her work, but she does something with X, Y, and Z, or whatever she said it was. And so my mom flipped it and said, well, I hear what you're saying is that Jordan has excellent leadership skills. And so what are you doing to help her flourish in that avenue? And I mean, I was stuck like Chuck because I did not expect that to happen. Like,
Stuck like
I
Chuck.
thought I was going to get in trouble. But,
Mm.
I realized, hindsight, I realized what my mother was doing. And so, I realize now that I do struggle with anxiety when it comes to, some things. So, yeah, it hasn't been diagnosed, but I know it for myself.
Yeah. Now I hear Jordan. I think one of the things that I like, and this is, you've gone too far when you're feeling physical symptoms of your mental illness, but
Mm.
for most of my teenage years, I grew up with this knot in my stomach. Like I couldn't eat, I like couldn't function, and I just assumed that was normal. That was how everyone felt. And then a doctor gave me anxiety medication, and this knot disappeared, and I could eat normally, and I could like converse with people. And so to to answer your question, Harrison, like yes, clearly I have like this pretty serious level of anxiety, but I think we don't necessarily notice it because I think what everyone's described so far is like you can handle it. You know how to, you can put up these walls, and what um, I sympathize with Pastor Tay. Like what made me realize that I had this problem was I got divorced. Like the person that I thought I loved most was like, I can't freaking deal with you anymore. We can talk all day about whether she was right about that or not, but no one had ever confronted me with this until this point.
Love
And
that.
like, someone saying like, not you're not okay, but I can't deal with you anymore is a real, like, that's a slap in the face. Um,
Mhm.
and so yeah, like I'm getting better at recognizing like when I'm feeling super sleepy over a couple of days, I'm like, yeah, maybe I'm tired, but also maybe that's I've been diagnosed with depression. Maybe that's a depression symptom. Like maybe it's not that I'm sleepy, maybe it's that I'm trying to avoid something or trying to compensate for something else that's going on in my brain, because depression is freaking exhausting. Like if you so yes. But I think also we don't notice it sometimes. Like we can chalk it. Like if you look at the symptoms of depression, anxiety. I'm not so familiar with PTSD, but like I could chalk all of the symptoms that I have on a daily basis up to physiological symptoms, health component. But the most important thing that I think for everyone to do when they're feeling those things is to say, you know what, is there something else going on here? Because it's real easy to hide mental illness under I got a stomach bug. I'm a bit sleepy. I've got,
Hmm.
I don't sleep well at night. You know, pick my fingernails every day. No, that's a sign that something else is going on.
Yeah.
Amen.
Facts.
I've never been diagnosed, but I my man, my earliest memory of elementary school. I want to say I was in first or second grade, and I was in actually one of my favorite teachers' classrooms, and she said something to me. She said, "I want you to go home, and I want you to tell your mother uh, to that you need to get tested." And she was saying, because, and for context, right? I was talking. I was talking a lot, and it wasn't because I wasn't getting done. I was done with my work. I was intelligent. I was smart, but was not being challenged to the point where not only am I distracting other people, now I can't focus because I'm done.
Mm,
Uh-oh.
damn,
Uh,
apparently Harrison is really done.
Right.
Right. He was-
Nah, and you know it's
for the
crazy.
record, for the record,
You know it's
for the record, it wasn't my fault for the divorce. Just for the record. Sit down.
oh, okay.
For the record,
no,
it
and I
And
wasn't
we
my
think
bless
I
fault.
think
him.
Only after years of therapy.
you know what's
I,
crazy is I have a similar story to both Jordan and Harrison, where like in third grade, man, I was like they were about to put me on Ritalin and all types of things and putting me through in sped classes because like that was the thing. It was like I would be done with my work and then I'm a third grader sitting in a room like bored to death, and it's just like, all right, now it's time to cause ruckus. It's like now I got to get into something. I got to find something to do, and it's not necessarily my intention to cause ruckus, but it's like now it's time to have fun. I did what I was supposed to do, and it was kind of similar to you, Jordan. In that time, it was like, no, my mom came up to the school and was like, no, you're not challenging him. Like he's doing the work and he's getting it done, and after that, what's he supposed to do? Like he and I think the thing that is kind of like now that I like have heard three stories in the like in this that kind of are similar. It's like, so what, and at what level do we I mean begin to one understand that sometimes our responses to um and then like our responses can cause kind of a mental health issue and a mental health problem, because I think in all three of our situations, had we been properly challenged, we may have never been in the situation where now I'm anxious about what mom's going to hear from my teacher. Or for me, it was like I don't want to take medicine in school. Like I don't like taking pills now. So it's like what I'm saying. I don't even like. I don't like getting shots. I don't like none of that.
It was
And
shots
it's
for
like
me.
that's what I'm saying. Like I don't like any of that. So like at what point do we recognize and I mean as a society, at what point do we stop looking at black children and their responses as a mental health issue rather than maybe taking time to understand what's going on? Like maybe Brendan isn't bad, maybe he's just not being challenged, and what can we do to challenge him more, to begin to expand his knowledge and understanding, and even challenge him in understanding when's the appropriate time to have fun, and when's the appropriate time to I mean to cause ruckus, I mean, but to not and that understanding that in classes in that time. But I don't think we I think a lot of times it's easier to just label it as a mental health issue, or this kid like is just bad, or this kid needs help, or or this person needs help, rather than taking the time to really understand what's going on and how we can best approach it so that this person, this living being, has the opportunity to live to their full potential.
Yeah. And to your point, B, I think, and this is no shade to any parents because I'm not a
Mhm.
parent to a human being. I'm a parent to a four-legged fur child. But what I have witnessed is, you know, there are our generation, what I'll say is they are trying to find their way. And they have these children that they have children that are in school. And so that's a tough act to juggle, trying to
Mm.
find my way and raise my child or children. Whereas some of us, not all of us, either grew up in two parent homes that were stable or maybe unstable. It's quite, it's questionable, or our parents were a bit more advanced in their career, their finances, or whatever, to be able to provide a fairly balanced home, household. Whereas nowadays, what I'm seeing is that there are children being raised by, internet. Grandmas are not 60, they are 40. Um, Auntie is like a sister auntie, so close to the same age. Like there's not that level of wisdom and experience there to be able to help. There's not that level of community that we really need to be able to help um raise the children that we are seeing, that our generation is having. Because the children that our generation is having now, you go up to one of them and you be like, you're not supposed to do that, you're not my mama, and they're probably throwing a punch at you. And I'll be honest with you, I
I
don't
fight
do that.
kids.
Yeah, I listen. What did the five fingers say to the face? Okay, but I mean, perfect example. I was working today, and I heard a noise at my front door. So I'm like, okay. I check my camera, and it's these three little kids, and they knocked on my door and ran. Now, I don't know what kind of games you playing, but I'm not gonna go check my door right now. So I waited till my neighbor got home, and I opened the door and I checked my door to see, to make sure, everything was the way it was supposed to be, and nothing was there. But I told my neighbor, I said, they got the wrong house. Okay. You don't know who live here, but you got the wrong house. Okay. I don't know who your mama or your daddy is, but you got the wrong house. We don't play that over here. And so she also noticed that there was like a Nerf bullet or whatever that it was. It had the orange tip with the blue sponge or whatever on, like, below my step. And so she was like, well, what's this? I said, oh, I guess that's what hit my door first before they knocked on my door and ran. But don't let me catch you, because you're not not at this house, not at this house. And I
Oh
I don't want to be, I want to be that person so that they understand it's all fine and good to have a good time and laugh and joke with your friends, but you have to be respectful. You have to be mindful of what you are doing, how you're doing, who it impacts, because actions have consequences. You're not going to always, get good things. Actions have consequences. And so, I'm not going to automatically tag a child as having mental health issues or anything like that when the parents of today don't have an effective community surrounding them, helping them, raise them to be, young adults, and etc.
Yeah, and
Healthy
I think
young adults.
I think that opens up, like, kind of what you were saying. Like, some of us, it's not necessarily a mental health issue; it's just a lack of awareness of what healthy practices look like. Um,
Mhm.
and if I think, like, if we take the time to make, to make sure that people understand what health looks like, and how to go on that journey, um, it help a lot of people. Might put a few, pharmaceutical companies out of business, but I'm not mad at that. I
not
mean,
mad
but
at that.
so it's like, I mean, if we take the time, if we really take the time to help people find healthy spaces, find their healthy practices, um, and I mean, especially in cases where people never had the tools to do that, or they spent most of their life learning to survive and now are
Mm-hmm.
struggling in a place where it's not required that you survive. It's more required that you can live, and understanding what
Yeah.
living means.
Yeah.
Because I think that the next stage after that is then, all right, now I'm living. What does thriving look like?
Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
if you're always in that survivalist mindset, or about I'm always fighting to survive, like it's not healthy to literally wake up every day and feel the need to try to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And not be able to just live, not be able to just wake up in the morning and go about life without the worries of, like, where food come from, or am I going to be, like, am I safe to walk outside? Am I, am I going, is something going to be stolen out of my car? Like, to not have to live with those
Mm-hmm.
worries, or even, I mean, even at work, to not just say, like, it's something I'm going to say be taken wrong, or is such and such working behind my back to get my position or to get me fired or something, like, but to work in spaces and to be in spaces where I can just live and do what I was created to do is different. And as part of me,
Mm-hmm.
for me right now, this transition is to learn what it means to just live and not be surviving. And hopefully, to be able to pass on living to the next generation, and they learn to thrive. And that's kind of my hope and prayer, in my closing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask y'all this, right? We're talking about recognizing our own mental health. How has your relationship with the church supported, or I mean, not supported, your learning or your journey in dealing with your own mental health? And I mean that's in whatever area, not even just the negative space, but in whatever area.
Um, for me, just dealing in ministry, it hasn't helped at all. But I think that's kind of self-inflicted, being a pastor of a church, you're the one supposed to have all the answers. You're not, it's the stigmas that you're not allowed. You're the one who has all the answers. You're not allowed to need help. So, the things I was going through, I kind of hid them for the benefit of the church. You know what I mean? I mean, when I was like in the Methodist church, nitty gritty, like real hard, and young adult council and doing this and doing that. Went to London and did all these great things with the United Methodist Church, and the whole time my marriage was holding on by a string, by threads, about to collapse. I was going through a lot of emotional things, overworked, stressed, and I felt like I had nobody to talk to because I didn't trust anybody to talk to because I was going through the
Mm-hmm.
process, and I was afraid of decom. I was afraid I would have to explain some of my actions in front of the board of ordained ministry, and I didn't want my church to think their shepherd needed a shepherd. So in that sense, from like a leadership standpoint, I didn't, if there was somebody there, I didn't trust them enough to let anybody know, and I just dealt with it. I just said, Lord, we'll find a way. This is what I want to do. I was just like, it's just a Job season. That's it. God is just testing me, keep pushing, and I broke. I literally broke. But I can't blame the church because I put myself in that situation. Like, all I had to
Mm-hmm.
do was accept that I had a problem and find help, and I didn't do that.
But that's hard. That's a hard position to be in, Tay. And thank you for your transparency. But that's definitely a hard position to be in. And I think, my personal opinion, let me say it again. My personal opinion is that the church has to get away from that. We are
Mm,
not, thank God for our ancestors and all that they, went through, and being able to establish a church and, establish traditions, religion, etc. Thank you for that. But we have to evolve, as
mm,
we witnessed, or when you read your Bible, and I said when you read your Bible because we need people to read their Bible for themselves. When you read your Bible, you will see the evolution of the ministry. I didn't say the church, the ministry. And I'm not saying that the church isn't the ministry, but you will see the evolution. Okay. And we got to grow from where we used to be. And so, what that means is that our pastors need shepherds too. Our pastors need therapists too. Because at some point, our pastors need to seek professional guidance outside of their spiritual guidance to be able to help them balance out their position, because you can't be,
to
you
be
know, you
able to
can't
help balance
you can't be
out.
all to everybody and anybody when you are not well yourself. You know what I mean? You can't pour from an empty cup. And
Mm-hmm.
Tay, that is no dig at you, because you have learned, you are growing, and you're making strides in the right direction. It's not a dig at you in no way, shape, or form. Um, but I will say, for me, I realized that I can have church, I can have God, I can have Jesus, I can have the people of the church to help me navigate some things. But I also know I need professional help. And that's just the
Mm.
honest to God truth. And I don't think it is, I don't think it is shared that it's okay to have both. I don't think it's shared that it's okay to have both. And again, it goes back to what we were saying, well, what I was saying in the beginning, which is that, you get chastised, you get made fun of, or you get shunned. Because to your point, Pastor Tay, about you were concerned about being under the ordained committee and them putting a spotlight on you. You have this fear of being removed or being chastised, whatever, without actually, getting the help that you need. And while we may feel like we're doing a disservice to whoever we are serving, we are doing a disservice to ourselves first. That is something else that I'm learning. I got to put me first. I got to take care of me first. Because if I don't take care of me, then I have nothing to offer to anybody else.
Yep.
So if I don't deal with my skeletons in the closet, they're gonna start coming out. They're gonna start knocking. The bones gonna start moving, and it's
Mm-hmm.
gonna come out whatever stuff that I'm dealing with. I think my mom says her professor from STVU said a problem unaddressed will find a home somewhere. That's Dr.
Mm-hmm.
Nathaniel West. Okay, and so if we don't deal with our own stuff, then it'll start spilling out over into how we operate in ministry, how we help other people in ministry. So I don't think there's enough push for mental health or therapy, seeking therapy or professional help. And also, going to church and praying and asking God and seeking spiritual guidance from, wise counsel. I don't think it's enough.
Yeah. And I want to do something really quickly because I feel, again, we are definitely a few minutes past our time. So thank you, super producer Jackie. Can we all just give a quick round of applause for her? We really appreciate you and all the work you do for us every week in the Amplify Network. You all are so, so, so amazing. But I really want to pray for us really quickly as we get ready to conclude this time. Do y'all have anything that you want to say for the betterment of the group, for the betterment of yourself, for the betterment of the people? To close it out with some comments.
I do. Thank everybody for their transparency. I know that this is, we talked about it. This is being recorded, it's being put on social media, it's being put on YouTube, etc. And we've told our truths here. And so, thank you for your transparency. And my prayer is that someone that has watched or will watch will get the help that they need if they haven't already gotten the help, or that they would reach out to get the help, to find out how they can get the help that they need to be able to help them navigate this life. We all ain't got it together, and it is okay. We can work together to get it together.
Amen.
Yeah, and I mean, I think to that, I would just, the only thing I would want to say that I haven't said would be, let's work as a church, as a community, as family, as friends, to build more spaces where we can be authentic, um, and real about where we are, how we feel, and what we're dealing with.
Yeah. And just to piggyback off Brennan, like, I know that probably my depression is never going to get healed, but there's a space in church for prayer for that, and there's a space in church for just dealing, for like just having a space where I can process it. Um, we'd never look at someone with, cerebral palsy or something and be like, if this church can't heal this person, we failed as a church. So let's treat how we respond to mental illness in the same way that we respond to physical illness. Like, there is a place for prayer, there is a place for believing that God can intervene in incredible ways, but there's also a place for, like, how does we as a church just care for you in this space? And let's focus on care rather than this mystical belief that we can heal someone from something that maybe they'll never heal from.
Really, mother?
Let's go, Pastor Tate.
Oh, you said so, Pastor Tate. Just to reiterate, yeah, it is okay to be not okay, and if you are not okay, there are places and ways in which you can find help. Like, don't allow the strains of life to get you down to the point.
Come on back. Come on back. I thought it was me again. I thought, yes, it's not me.
No. And
Listen,
I think
It's been going
while we
crazy
wait
all
on
night.
Pastor Tay to get back, one comment, Pamela Hawkins, she posted that if we have references for those in need, please share. Shout out to Pamela because she's thinking in our brain already. We're actually going to build out on the website a page of resources for the different topics and subjects that we discuss. So definitely visit encounterthewell.com, visit our website, and check the page out for more resources and things like that. That is something that we've talked about adding to our offerings to our community, is not just to have the discussions, but also to put in some of the resources and things that have helped us to find more healthy and well places to be in, and how to exist and be more healthy and well.
yeah.
That
I don't
said,
think we're
man,
getting
we're getting
Pastor
ready to
Tay
conclude our
back.
time. Yeah, I don't know if Pastor Tay's coming back tonight. Listen, we're gonna have to call him on FaceTime after this, and we just gonna record it somewhere, and we gonna post it. And Pastor Tay's words, guys, we're back. It's gonna be a good time. I love it. So, I want to say, man, and I'll have more opportunity this month to be a little more transparent myself. Tonight, I really wanted to hear y'all share a lot more. I'm gonna be honest. Y'all got my heart, man. Y'all got my heart. I just know I love y'all. I don't care what nobody say. I love y'all. I message y'all a long way. Okay, but beyond that, man, I think there's a lot of productivity that's going to come from this month, particularly because we're talking about things we just don't talk about. Like, we are addressing some situations. We're addressing some things that some people have never even considered. Maybe there's something going on here that I should investigate. And I think there comes a point in time in every adult's life, if not anybody else, but let's just talk about adults. There comes a point in our maturity that we say the things that are happening now cannot be just coincidences that keep happening. These can't be random occurrences and all these, but like, especially if they're in the same area, these cannot be random things just happening. There's something going on here that I need to investigate. And my
Yep.
first prayer this evening is that these conversations will lead somebody to the realization, maybe not that something is wrong, because that's not what we're preaching. That's not what we're saying. That's not what we're even confessing. What we're saying is there's something going on here, and we just need you to investigate. It's that simple. It doesn't matter the outcome. Know what's going on. And that's why we have to start this week with recognizing your sugar honey iced tea. And we're going to come back next week with coping with your sugar honey iced tea, because there are so many ways that we do so many things out of defense, out of coping, just because it's become a norm. We learn how to function in our dysfunction. And that's something, again, guilty. I had to talk about Harrison first. Sweep around my door. I am the first person to admit that I do it. But I believe in so many ways we all do and probably don't even know it. So as we conclude our time, man, let's bow, let's pray. Dear Lord, first of all, before we ask you for anything, we want to take a moment to tell you thank you for everything. we want to let you know that first of all, we're grateful. We are appreciative for life and for health, for a reasonable portion of strength. Dear God, thank you that we did wake up this morning in our right minds. That as much as we may think something is wrong with us, dear God, you made us perfect. You created us in ways that are unfathomable, with billions of cells and neurons and atoms and all these processes going on inside of us. You created them all with intention, with perfection, with love, and with an expected end. So thank you first and foremost that you are God, that we're not God, that we don't get your first reaction to things, we get your final reaction every single time. So, dear God, our prayer is just that. First of all, we confess. You told us in your word that if we confess our sin, you're faithful to forgive. So we confess that we have messed some stuff up. We did go left when you told us to go right. And yes, in some spaces, what we're experiencing may be a space where we stepped out of line with you or out of alignment with you and stepped into something that we were never meant to experience. So, dear God, fix our hearts and our perspectives, but reveal to us everything about us. Let us know who we are, but let us see us the way that you see us. Dear God, you sit where we don't sit, so you see what we don't see. Our prayer is that you would allow us to see ourselves the way that you see us, as perfect, as beautiful, as flawed, yes, but as created with intention as well. Dear God, as we continue and get ready to leave this space, allow us to continue to be in community with each other, allow us to find creative and better ways, more efficient and effective ways to support one another without judgment and without the fear of consequence, vulnerability, allowing each other to have a space to just be. That's what we're asking for tonight. But ultimately, dear God, our final prayer is that you do what you do best, and that's be God. Be God all alone. You are doing such an amazing job, if I had to say so myself. Thank you so much. That's all we gather here tonight to tell you that we're grateful. We're grateful for who we are, for what we've experienced, and for where we are headed. We believe better is coming, so hold us until better comes. Dear God, for everything we prayed, didn't pray, didn't know to pray, forgot to pray, and for everyone, everything that we are duty bound to pray for, we cover it all in your precious blood. And we believe between our ask and our amen, you've already provided answers. In Jesus' name, we say thank God. We say amen, amen, and amen. Listen, we love you. Williams, it is always a pleasure and an honor to serve, an honor to be with y'all on a Thursday night. We will see you again next week at 8:15 with Coping with Your Sugar Honey Iced Tea. Pastor Ray, we miss you tonight. Panelists, thank you so much. Love y'all.
Yeah.
You're needed and you're loved.
Thank you.